Welcome back to Taj Gibson, a tribute podcast number 2. And today we'll be discussing what every team should try to do in the offseason and, great old teams that never won.
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way to do is just we'll start with some of the most obvious teams and then kind of work our way to the teams that no one really likes to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, who really cares about what the Hawks do right now? Like, it's not really.
The Hornets. I'm sorry if there's any Hornets fans. I mean, the Hornet fan. I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult the singular Hornets fan. All right. So we'll start with our NBA champions, the Lakers.
Okay.
So I think their biggest issue is they lack another playmaker outside of LeBron, besides Rondo, and they need someone like long term for that. And they also kind of need to start working on a third option if they want to make some long term moves.
All right. Well, I think that they're completely fine because I think the next 2 years will be the time they want to win. I think AD is going to leave after that. So
You think AD
I'm
is
not
going to
really
want?
So I'm not really worried about what they need in the future. I don't
Well,
think that's a big concern.
I feel like there's been like reports that a lot of teams are interested in getting Rondo. So if they can, their first priority should be to get everyone back from this year.
Yeah, but the issue is they're going to need a second playmaker throughout the season because Rondo doesn't play normally until the playoffs. So
Yeah. And I think they're hoping that's what Caruso is, but let's be real, Caruso isn't
he can become that.
the
It
greatest
was actually
playmaker.
pretty funny. There was in like the middle of the season, there were a bunch of teams that tried to trade for Caruso, and it just shows you what the media can do. Like there was it's just because of all the hype and shit around him, which isn't even real. It's just
It's because
you know.
he's balding and he's 25 or something. So people are like,
You might be balding when you're 25.
shut up, shut up. That's a few years away. All right.
Okay.
So
Let me bring some of my notes. All right, for the Celtics, I actually have a good idea. Like this is a really solid idea. Trade. You remember how yesterday we were talking about, or a few days ago we were talking about defensive center, how they needed a defensive center because Cantor is probably the farthest away from prime Matumbo you can get from prime Dikembe. So
yeah.
I think trading for Rudy, I don't know if they'll be. I don't think Utah will give him up, but if they can put a bunch of pieces on for Rudy, that would be really for Gobert.
Well, the thing is like that's difficult contract wise. They'd have to get rid of Gordon Hayward then. They'd pretty much have to do like Gordon Hayward.
I'm thinking here. I wrote it down. I'm thinking Marcus Smart, Tice. Okay, their first round pick, and they can probably like toss in a few other players like Romeo Langford or stuff, or like Robert Williams. Just they could just probably throw in a few of these players if they want to.
Well, I don't think money wise it would work, but I get the general idea. I feel like if they were to do it, they would need to get rid of like Gordon Hayward, somehow get Gordon Hayward to go back to the team, the Jazz. So yeah, I like the idea, but I feel like Rudy Gobert is worth. I don't want to say he's worth more than he produces, but I feel like being a purely defensive center, because he helps on offense, but it's not like he's not like an Anthony Davis on offense. He doesn't do a ton.
Yeah, I'm saying that the Celtics would have to go all in for him. Like it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be just they would be giving up a lot. But I'm just saying if that's what they want to do right now, then
Yeah, I mean,
However, I don't think they're looking because I think Jalen and Jason are gonna stay there. So I think they're not. I don't think this year is their priority. Like someone like
I
the
don't
Nets.
see why anyone on the Celtics team wants to leave. Like they're in the perfect position right now. They've got once they get off that Gordon Hayward contract, they're gonna have a little bit of money. They can. I don't know if anyone else is going to be coming off a contract they would have to pay, but they would have a little bit of
Yeah,
flexibility.
so So Gordon Hayward breaks his whatever leg. What is it, like 15 minutes into the 2018 season? I think it was 15 minutes in against the Cavs. He goes up for like a set play, alley-oop, and breaks his leg. Okay, he comes back, and everybody was like, God, him and Kyrie, obviously Kyrie was a missing piece. Gordon Hayward also a really big, missing piece that's going to push him over the top. He comes back, barely comes back, plays awfully, like plays off. He lost some of his handle. It's just nothing was there. Okay, and then beginning of the bubble, he gets injured again. So right now, the Gordon Hayward contract isn't looking great for the Celtics. But
It's not that like recently he hasn't been terrible. It's just that he's not worth that 30
no,
something million he's
the
getting paid.
fact that he was worth that as soon as he came out of Utah, like that was the correct contract to give him. If you look at his Utah numbers, they were good. They were like he was putting up really good numbers. So it was just
Yeah, well, no one expected him to come out of Utah averaging like 20 something points a game and then immediately break his leg. That was unfortunate. And then it's just been a long road back. And I think it's
you
partially
can
too. I think it's partially that he's not getting nearly as many minutes as everyone else because
he's
he's
playing
slowly.
awfully. I don't expect Brad Stevens to give me. I mean, I hate Brad Stevens. Like I really hate him, but I don't expect him to give him that many minutes. Like I don't think that's really.
It's not even like why would you hate Brad Stevens? It's not like you're a rival.
Everybody in Boston is like. It's just
What? So
like
you just hate.
everybody in Boston is. I don't know. It's just I don't like the way Brad Stevens looks. Like that
You just think he
stereotypical
has a
white
punchable.
guy.
You just think he has a punchable face.
Yes, very much like that.
All right, so the next team I think we should talk about is I'm going to talk about my Philadelphia 76ers.
All
And
right, I've got some things. After you go first, and I'll just add.
so this team is hella interesting.
Hey, before you keep going, there's one major thing that you should be talking about, and I hope you do talk about it because there's one person, and his contract is something that they need to sort.
Well, there's multiple contracts. So they bring in Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers says he can get Ben Simmons and Embiid to work. So they're obviously not going to be trading either of them, even if one of us thinks it's better for the future. Um, they do need to get rid of Al Horford. They need to trade Al Horford in some way or another because we can try to play him off the bench, but it's not going to work. It wasn't as effective as we were hoping, and I mean, a sweep by Boston was not really what we were hoping for, especially when
Oh
experts
yeah,
were
no,
predicting.
no, no. I really think that a lot of teams hoped to get swept.
Well, I think after the first two games, people were just like, let's just not get swept. At least just get one game in there or
That's
so.
fair. Yeah, at least because I don't know. The issue is when you get one game, the word sweep is still in gentleman swept. So I mean,
Yeah, but no one in history is gonna be like, oh, they got gentlemen swept. And it's like, no, they lost in five.
yeah, no, you
Compared to
lost.
like, well, if you were to put it in like LeBron's legacy, you would be like, he got swept twice in the finals versus, yeah, he lost in five twice.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
sounds completely different. Yeah. So they need to somehow get rid of Al Horford's contract. And I think
That's the main thing. I
the
don't
number
know.
one
That's the
thing,
main thing.
that's like the number one thing. And
Yeah.
they need to get some type of shooter. And you've heard about Buddy Hield and the Kings. And apparently he's not like returning Luke Walton's calls. So I'm sorry, Kings fans, but I kind of want to steal Buddy Hield away.
Oh, Luke Walton's such a shitty coach. I don't know what to fucking tell you. He's such an incredibly bad coach. Like I never understood what his issue was with Buddy because you could so easily be averaging 25. I promise you.
Well, because now they're playing him off the bench. I don't understand why you would play him off the bench.
Exactly. Why?
It's come to the Sixers, man. You won't have to play off the bench. I can tell you that for sure.
I have an idea that I don't know if it's a great idea because I think my idea is almost a 2019-2020 Houston replication 2.0. But if they try to trade for Eric Gordon and Daniel House and Ben McLemore, and they give up Al Horford, I don't know why the Rockets would take this trade because I know they're not going to give up Eric Gordon, but
The
these are all
Rockets are in.
hypothetical.
We'll come back to the Rockets because they're in another world position, man. They're.
I'm saying they're just not, but like that could be if like
Mhm.
Philly get Eric Gordon, Daniel House, and Ben McLemore. The only
As
problem I
long
have with
as
it
as long as
is
Daniel House isn't ditching playoff games to go see a girl.
I swear that was false. I think they fucked him. I don't. Well, okay, but so if Houston get out, the only issue with the Sixers getting those three players that I just made is it's so similar to the Houston Rockets team that we just watched, where there's a point guard who can't shoot, surrounded by all 3-point shooters. Ben
Mhm.
Simmons, a point guard who can't shoot, even worse than Westbrook, but probably makes better decisions because he doesn't even attempt them.
At least
So
Westbrook will take them.
no, but maybe that's a good thing about Ben Simmons is that he won't even at least he's not gonna throw the ball away on possessions by jacking up a shot. But you look at it both ways. But I feel like it's so similar to especially with Embiid. Okay, scratch that idea. It's not gonna work. Like them trading for Eric Gordon, it would be a worse version of the Rockets team that we just saw. So
I just think Westbrook's in a bad situation, but we'll come back to that when we come to the Rockets.
I got you.
Wait.
All right.
So, and then the final part with the Sixers is please fire Elton Brands. That's kind of an obvious statement. He's building like a 2K team over here.
Wait, you didn't? Have you seen rookie of the year Elton Brand highlights?
I don't care about Rookie of the Year Elton Brand highlights. One,
I think
I wasn't alive, and two, he's a GM now. It doesn't. What does that
I'm,
matter?
I'm pretty sure he won co-rookie of the year. It's one of the only times that there's been co-rookie of the year.
If you're winning co-Rookie of the Year, you ain't
Here,
getting Rookie of the Year.
you keep talking, and I'm gonna look up who he won co-rookie of the year with.
Yeah, and you have Tobias Harris, and I'm gonna be honest, he's overpaid, but hopefully under like Doc Rivers, he can come back to his stretch four kind of self. We don't have to move him to outside of his
It was
position.
it was Stevie Franchise, just for anyone wondering. I know no one is, but it was Steve Francis who also won it. So keep going. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, it's there's a reason we didn't put the Sixers in the top 10 in the power rankings. It's just they're a mess, and I mean, compared to some other teams, they're not as much of a mess, but they're still a mess.
Going back to Lakers really quickly, D Rose could be a great possibility.
There have been, I mean, there have been reports of it for a lot of teams, but or for a lot of players coming to the Lakers.
D
It,
Rose is in. He's one of those players that's in every fake trade possible. Like if you're talking with your friends, okay, you've definitely thrown D Rose into a fake trade. You've definitely been like, okay, I think if we get him and they also add D Rose, we could be onto something. He's always in fake trades that never ends up happening. So
I so we'll go to the Knicks now. Your favorite Knicks.
I don't know if I want to talk about the Knicks.
Where you wanna save them for later?
Maybe we just skip them altogether. Is my
No. Okay, fine. Then I'll talk about the Knicks.
okay.
God, please, guys, do not make any stupid trades. Like you've seen all the rumors that are like, yeah, we're gonna get Chris Paul, we're gonna get Victor Oladipo, we're gonna get like Danilo Gallinari. It's like, what are you guys trying to build? Like a first round elimination?
Okay. I'll speak about it, but very limited because I don't want to get angry. Okay, but the the stupidest thing I've heard so far is the Knicks wanting to get Chris Paul and Carmelo saying he would like to follow in that. What is it? I'm not gonna say. Okay, 10 years too late is all I'm gonna say. Like that's because they're gonna end up throwing a max at Chris Paul, which is probably the worst thing a team could do at this point. It's gonna be fucking Dolan. That's the worst thing that Knicks could do.
Well, it's like
And then
I think they're partially trying to entice some free agents for not this offseason, but the next one. But getting a player like Chris Paul, if I was like a free agent, I'd be like, why would I want to go there? He's aging, and you guys
40-year-old.
threw him a bag.
You want to go to a 40-year-old Chris Paul team that's trying to lead the Knicks to the playoffs? No, that's the worst title I could possibly think of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like if they get Victor Oladipo and they still stay bad and they have like a few other assets, I can understand that more than getting like a.
I think Oladipo, if the Knicks don't screw up and think Oladipo is like magically back to his 2018 form and he's worth a max, then if they can get him for a small amount without giving up too much, then I think it'll be a really good idea because he's younger. He hasn't been good since the injury, but we'll see what he can do. And if he magically gets us to the playoffs with RJ, then it's fine because even though it's a first round exit, at least it makes it more enticing for free agents to get there, and we're not giving up our whole core. So
What your core is RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson.
our core is
And Dennis Smith Jr., huh?
next team.
Next team. All right, Golden State Warriors, go.
Okay. I think you because I have to try to find some. I don't even know about Golden State right now because you're the one that's high on Golden State. So
Well, I do everything off the top of my head. So okay. So Golden State they're like one of those teams that they're coming back in such a weird situation that I don't even know what they could be. But considering that they have Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, your favorite Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Eric Paschal, and people keep underrating their bench. They have a decent bench, but they have a lot of flexibility and they could easily get another star. Like there have been reports about Bradley Beal, you getting rid of Andrew Wiggins, a second round pick, and probably a few other assets for Bradley Beal. Like that's not a bad trade. Stuff like that makes me be like, okay, I see you Warriors. You guys are moving up.
there was this interview that maybe it was in the Bill, maybe it was in a Bill Simmons interview with Steve Kerr, and so he's talking to him, and he asks him, like, how has Andrew Wiggins fit in so well with you guys? Like, how has he done so well? And I'm thinking, where the fuck? Like, what numbers are you looking at? Thinking that he's done so well for the Warriors. Like, maybe it's a bit of a jump from his fucking awful numbers at Minnesota, but still, it's Andrew Wiggins is not.
Okay, you like. I don't want to say you disrespect Andrew Wiggins because you're not.
No. Say it. I do because I do. I do, and I'm glad. He I can honestly think he might be as disappointing as Jabari Parker. And Jabari Parker, nobody even knows.
Your whole thing is like you come after Andrew Wiggins just because he was a second overall pick. Take away the fact that he was a second overall pick, and then you'd be fine with him.
But it's not the same situation as like an Anthony Bennett because nobody had Anthony Bennett going first. Obviously,
What, so you're saying it's because of the hype?
No, they still had him going top 10, probably maybe even top 5, but nobody had him going first, and so it was a surprise. Anthony Bennett is probably the biggest bust of Anthony Bennett is probably the biggest bust of the 2010s. However, I just consider him a tiny bit less of a bust because he was not actually meant to go first. But Andrew Wiggins, he was always meant, he was going to go second. So I feel like, but I also feel like it's Minnesota's fault. You can't throw a max at someone and the only basis be that they promise to get better every year. I'm going to forever bring that up. and that's Minnesota's fault. You just cannot do that. But
What, you don't take Andrew Wiggins' word when he says, "Yeah, I'm gonna get better every year"?
and it's so stupid.
Listen, like
All right.
I think okay. I think the reason that people hate on Andrew Wiggins was because he was like a second overall pick. If he was like, or he a first overall pick, I don't know why I said second. If he was like a 15th pick, people would be fine with it. But it's because he's a first overall pick, they're mad and they just call him overrated. This that he's overpaid. I don't think he's overrated. No one's saying that he's an insanely good player. I'm just saying he's serviceable, and that's pretty much it.
Serviceable is a bit of a
What? Okay, like 20 something points on 45%. Although that's slightly,
those were his good numbers. Those were his good numbers.
that's on Golden State. That's in like 20 something games.
Yeah, okay. And how many of them did they win?
Okay, well they weren't winning before, so
They were never winning. All right, okay. Let's just you keep speaking. And
no. Okay, fine. The Golden State Warriors are just an interesting package. They're not going to get Giannis, at least not this season,
no.
or I don't see it in the foreseeable future either. But they're definitely going to make some type of trade package, or they're going to just continue with the pick that they get. Uh, yeah, I think they should make a trade package and try to improve.
It actually did in 2017, 24 points a game, 45% from the field, and 36% from three. It started going up, but then it all went downhill.
I
That's what I
mean,
have to
people
say.
were like, "Hey," I remember seeing on Instagram, people were like, "Yo, Andrew Wiggins is actually doing better," and then it just kind of went down and then down, and then it just kind of plateaued.
But it was true, right? At the beginning of this year, for like the first 2 months, I think he was averaging like 24,
Yeah, he was
maybe
averaging like
25
18.
on pretty good. If people were like, people were like, could this be the year? And then it wasn't the year. The year's never gonna come. Okay. When was the last time any of y'all have even heard the name Jabari Parker? Like,
Not for a while. All right.
yeah.
Okay. Speaking of Jabari Parker, let's go to the Bucks.
Okay. You go to the Bucks, and I'll do the Hawks next because I'm very fascinated with the Hawks.
All right. So the Bucks need to some way convince Giannis to stay. So they need to make some type of move, some type of trade, and improve the roster without drastically changing it because they're still a very good regular season team, but they're just not doing well in the playoffs. I also will stand by my statement that I think Chris Middleton is a third option for a long time until he can prove that he's for somehow a first option. I don't know how he did that in the playoffs. Like that was weird. Giannis leaves and Chris Middleton turns into like a 27 point per game scorer.
It was like 2 games. It's too small of a sample size. You can't.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that was just weird. But I just think that they need like a decent second option, someone who can score, someone outside of Giannis. That's not Chris Middleton, because for some reason when Chris Middleton can only score when Giannis isn't on the court. I don't know how.
I think you remember this is just floating off topic again, but it's gonna happen. Remember in that point where both Embiid and Simmons were injured, and it was like in the middle of the season where conversations like that still happen, but it was like, do they play better without each other? That's when the first trade talks of like, okay, maybe they
Well,
should
yeah,
start trading one of them.
yeah,
Because
people
remember,
were like looking at Ben Simmons. They're like, he's a superstar without Embiid.
it started when Embiid got injured, like not even that far into the season, pretty early for a bit, and Simmons went off, and that's the first time people were like, okay, do they need to consider trading one of the two? And obviously now we know that it
They're not going
could.
to. Well, as of right now, they're not going to.
Yeah, no, now they're not going to, but yeah,
Yeah, I just think it's The Bucks are a difficult team. If they should get any two players to be their second option, it should
What about
be
Chris Paul
like
for a
a
year?
yeah, Chris Paul. Chris Paul. Uh, that's an aging Chris Paul though.
No, for 1 year. I'm talking about just for this year. If they could get him for 1 year and try to run it for like, because I think Giannis is gonna leave. I don't know if you do, but I do think Giannis is gonna leave. No matter how happy he looks and how much he says, "Oh,
Well, I
you're the
think if they
Bucks,"
win a championship, Giannis isn't leaving.
but
But
they're not gonna win the championship. So I
well,
think
they
the
have
way
to
they
make
should
this
try
series. They need
to,
a guy who can play, make, and score.
that's what I'm saying. The way they should try to for this one season before he leaves, they should try to get Chris Paul just to see if it works for one season.
hmm There were like talks of them getting Victor Oladipo, which I don't think Victor Oladipo right now is the second option. Because he's been injured for a bit. But when in his when he was at that 20
18.
himself, he was he could be a decent he could be a decent first option to even second option.
Yeah, he was. He took that LeBron team to 7, no matter how awful every one of LeBron's teammates was.
hmm And then there were also talks about like getting Zach LaVine, which I don't know if I agree with that one as much. It's
I
just then
I
you're
just
going for
don't
pretty much
know.
straight scoring.
I just don't know about Zach LaVine. Here's the thing about Zach LaVine.
We'll move on to the Bulls. Go.
Stop taking such awful shots. This is what I'll say right now before we. Okay, I'm
We're on
gonna
the
talk
Bulls.
about the Hawks really quickly because
Fine. Hawks.
this Hawks team is. Trey Young reminds me a lot of, if any of you know who Sharif Abdur-Rahim is. He was on the NBA for a few years, but he was always on like teams that won like under like 10 games, not 10 but like 30. I
Mhm.
think what was it that Charlotte team, that one Kemba Charlotte team in 2012 lockout. I think they won, what, they win 7 games. They went like 7-59, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. I think it was there. All right, okay, but the Hawks, I think they should try to trade for Terry Rozier. Hear me out. Hear me out though. Okay.
Why?
They can just give up whoever. I'm sorry, Hawks fans. They can just give up whoever shitty players that the Hawks have on their bench that nobody cares about whatsoever. Give up a few of those. They can give up their 2020 second round pick and try to get Terry Rozier, because I know that
Give
the
up your
Hornets. I,
2020. Oh, I thought you said first. Never mind.
I know that the Hornets want to get rid of his contract, and I think he could be a good backup point guard for.
Well, so you
Or
don't
they
think
could try
Jeff Teague is good
to.
enough? You don't think Jeff Teague is good enough?
No, not at all, because he's about to hit free agency.
Yeah, well, they could just bring him back.
They
I just
shouldn't.
think, I just think like the Hawks are. They need to just find another piece to add on. So they have John Collins, they have Trey Young, they have Clint Capella,
Do
they
you
have all
remember?
of these.
Do you remember the John Collins dunk in the dunk contest where he tried to go over a plane, and I think he clipped the plane, and he
Yeah.
brought a bunch of people out for it, like they were standing all over it. It was like a bunch of like mini flyers, and I think he clipped the plane on it while he was going up, and it was such an awful dunk.
Yeah, well, I just think like they have uh they got like DeAndre Hunter, who I'll be honest, I don't watch Hawks games, so I don't really know a ton
Oh,
about him
really?
besides
That's
him.
surprising. They're such a fun team to watch.
Trey Young is such a fun player to watch. That's what I'll phrase it as. It, they just they really need a good defensive guy, but also like they just need another option in general. Like they just need
Hawks kind of remind me. Hawks
another
kind of remind
star player.
The Hawks kind of remind me of the 2014 Sixers with rookie MCW, where it was like one person's putting up, okay, well, obviously Trae Young's a lot
You're
better, but
disrespecting Trey Young.
yeah, I am. One person's putting up okay stats, but the team is like if any of you look up 2014 Sixers highlights, the NBA probably released the top 10, but they losing by like 40 in each one of them, and it's like crowd in Philly. They're down by 40 with like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They're playing like their 14th man or something like that, even though they're only
Purposely,
they're
purposely.
Yeah, they're playing like they're 14. He does like some crazy dunk, and that's what the highlights are. But
It was part
I
of the
know I'm
process.
disrespecting Trey Young, but I don't mean to. I don't mean to. I'm just saying that this Hawks team has the same vibes as that old Sixers, as that old trust the process Sixers team.
It's all part of the process, bro. Just
Yeah,
trust it. All right. We'll go to the Bulls real quick because you started talking about Zach LaVine. Um,
I
really,
didn't want to.
just
I hate talking about Zach LaVine.
okay. Just play your young players. You got a good new coach. You should not make any huge trades. I'm talking about getting Chris Paul because you don't need to get Chris Paul. I don't know why you would need to get Chris Paul. You can like the bottom two seeds, like the seventh and eighth seed, they're weak enough that a team like the Bulls could probably squeak in there.
Yeah,
So I don't feel like they need to get a Chris Paul or do a trade stupid as they want to go. It's just keep the players you have. Don't do anything crazy. You'll be fine.
um, yeah. I don't. I just don't. Zach Levine, I don't know. Obviously, he's a great player, but why take some of the shots that he takes? Like,
Because
no,
it's the Bulls and there's not a ton of other players to take shots.
there's no other player. I understand that,
You got
and there's
Kobe
that
White. You can let him take shots.
there's that video that was floating around the internet when Zach Levine has like 40 points and he's yelling at his coach and he's like, I got fucking 40 points. Like, what the hell do you want me to be doing? And I think he like pulls up from the logo and hits a three from there the next possession. But it's a good video. But other than that, there's I don't know. The Bulls are not right now. They were interesting once in they were interesting once in 2004 when Scotty came back for just to reunite with them for one season. They got a tiny bit interesting there. They were, and then D Rose made them good.
And then
They
they,
lost, and then they lost all of it.
yeah. I
I,
mean,
we can talk. We could probably go on for hours about D Rose, so we probably shouldn't get into that right now.
they also have like Larry Markkinen, who I'm hoping over time he can
Becomes
develop.
what he was supposed to be.
People were saying that he was going to be like the next Dirk.
Yeah, do you
Yeah,
remember the hype around him as soon as he was drafted? Because that's when we just started watching basketball. That it was like,
people are always that's the thing. Whenever it's an overseas player, people are like, "That's the next Dirk. He's long and he's European. He's the next Dirk."
it's funny
That's
because that's how it is now. But when Dirk was drafted, it was like he's an overseas player. I'm not gonna trust him, and
Mhm.
that's why what did Dirk go like ninth in the draft or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was traded. He was originally drafted by the Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. We've done the Bulls. Let's do the Raptors.
All right. Okay.
All
You
right.
take the
So
floor if you
Marcus
have something
All
to say.
Marcus All has already said he's going back to Spain. So that's unfortunate. But really, we just like the Raptors are good, but I don't think Pascal is the first option as of right now. Like, he can develop into it, but based off this year's playoffs, he's not a first option.
I think another good trade for them could be D Rose.
Okay, we're just gonna throw D Rose into every single one.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He gets thrown into all of them, but he's a good fit for so many teams. That's the issue. It was like I don't know. There are a few old players that you just used to throw in a bunch of trades. D Rose is one of them, especially now in his career when he's floating a bit. Like he's, but tell me that could be a good trade for the Raptors.
Yeah, I mean, the Raptors is just such a good, like, they're just a solid team in general. Like, they have the ability they're a phenomenal drafting team. Uh, I hope they don't lose like a ton of their players moving forward, because there've been reports Fred VanVleet's probably gonna leave. Uh,
I really don't think. I think the Raptors are gonna offer him a max. Like the team, he's not worth a max, but he's going to demand a max, and I don't think
And they're
any
gonna
other
want to keep him.
team other than the Raptors are going to give him a max.
Yeah, and the Knicks could probably give him a max, but
But they no, that's Dolan could probably give him a max.
yeah. I mean, I think they just want to. I think they just want to keep and hold on to him. I don't think he's worth the max, like you said, but you know, it's the best they can really do. I don't think they have leverage right now to get some huge like star. They're definitely in a better situation than other teams like the
Like,
Knicks, but I don't think they're. So I'm really picking on the Knicks. That's the.
yeah, I'm just going to ignore that. I mean, at this point, who you can pick on the Knicks so easily. It's like, come on.
Well, yeah, it's just easy to do.
I think
Well, really, just the Raptors are a good team, but I just feel like they need to let either Pascal develop into a first option or they need to get a first option. It's pretty much.
a trade, a trade that I saw floating around, if we're bringing up the Knicks again, was the Pistons receive Bobby Portis.
We're not
Oh,
gonna do this. We're not gonna do this. We're not doing
no,
this.
no, 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 because it doesn't make that much sense because the Knicks will throw a max at Blake Griffin, but
Please no, stop.
if the Pistons receive Bobby Portis, Alfred Payton, and Taj Gibson, they might be able to get
Our Lord and Savior Taj Gibson.
no, because you can still he's not as much as D Rose, but you can still throw in Taj Gibson. Like when the Knicks are offering like stuff for other players, they definitely throw in Taj Gibson. It's like at the end of the interview, at the end of the call, they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll also chuck in Taj Gibson for you if you
The
want."
journeyman.
Yeah, if you want to, we'll throw that in. All right, but for the Blazers, a good one for the Blazers is that they should try to get T.J. Warren and T.J. McConnell for I don't know. They could probably give up like one of their shooters, like Trevor Ariza, and their pick, because T.J. Warren will give them like. I know the hype. I know we don't need to speak about the T.J. Warren bubble hype again. He's still an okay player. Obviously, he's not going to perform at the same level as the bubble, but he's still going to be good. So I think that it would give them a third scorer, and T.J. McConnell is like a solid point guard.
Yeah, I mean, they really just need to get Lillard some help. Like,
Yeah,
so not that Lillard doesn't have help, but like they need some.
no, he needs help. He needs help.
Well, I don't want to say they don't have help because CJ and Nurkic are help, but they were only there or Nurkic was only there for like a specific amount of time and stuff like that. So they just really need to. They need Nasir Little to develop, and then they need to. I guess I like the idea of like getting TJ Warren. It's just the team needs to. They're in a tough conference, and coming up against other teams like the Lakers and the
No,
Warriors.
no, no. They got game one. They can probably sweep the rest of the way.
Oh my God, we're not going back into this, man.
I know we're not. We're not. I'm not gonna get sucked down that
All right,
one.
all
But
right.
wait. I got one that maybe you could be kind of interested in because it involves your Sixers. Um, if the Kings get Tobias Harris and the Sixers get Harrison Barnes, Corey Joseph, and the 2020 second round pick that the Kings have,
The
I
thing
just want
is,
to throw that at you.
what team is going to want to like? If I'm a Sixers fan, I'm taking it. But the thing is what team is going to want to take Tobias Harris?
Well, I was gonna say what team is gonna want to take Harrison Barnes after the 2016 finals when you went like 0 for 12, 0 for 15, and 1 for 13 in 3 consecutive finals games.
How many years does he have left on his contract?
Who?
Harrison Barnes. Because
I don't
if
know.
he
Do
were
you
to
remember? Do
be,
you remember that really sad moment where you got traded mid-game? Like it flashed up on the screen that Harrison Barnes was traded from this team to this team, and so like right after the game ended, I'm guessing he left. But it was really sad because it just showed like mid-game, it just an alert flashed up on the screen. So
yeah, I mean, for them to do the Harrison Barnes thing, they would basically just be giving up Harrison, or they would be giving up Tobias Harris because they really want to get rid of this contract. So I don't think it would necessarily happen.
They need to
If
get rid of one of them. It's too much money. Both Horford and Tobias, that's too much money. They need to get, preferably both of them, they need to get rid of at least one of them. It's just too much money.
Yeah, I mean that's why they should get rid of Al. Tobias is more serviceable than Al. I mean, if Harrison Barnes' contract was expiring the next season, I would be like, let's do that deal because then you get money, you go into that free agency class, and you got a solid, like I wouldn't say max contract. I don't know how much money it is. Maybe it is close to a max. No, it wouldn't it be a max considering that Tobias Harris was a max? Yeah, so you have a max contract to throw at a player. So and that's a really good free agency class. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's not bad. Yeah. I don't think there's much else to discuss with the Kings. Like just develop
There's
your
not
players.
much else to discuss with a lot of teams that no one cares about. It feels bad, the third California team.
Yeah, listen. There's not gonna be much to talk about with the Magic. The Hornets, I'm not gonna bother. Pistons, okay. Cavs, not really important.
I've just seen and I'm just looking, and so I remember I saw this a few days ago, and that's why I saved it. Someone was like Gordon Hayward to keep the San Antonio Spurs playoff dreams alive, and that they should try to get Gordon Hayward.
Oh dear Lord. I mean, okay. Here. We'll go to the Spurs because there's multiple teams I just mentioned that we're probably not gonna ever talk about again. Spurs, listen, they're they need to start rebuilding, man. Like
No. At this point, that like as much as Pop will never want to admit it, it's rebuilding time, and it's finally come. You can't. He's
like
they
had a
literally
good 20 seasons of being in the
yeah,
playoffs.
they literally feasted on rebuilding around one core from 2003 to 2016, 2017 even. Okay, that's 14 years of rebuilding around the same core. Like that's so much time that you won like 4 chips and consistently made the playoffs with a high seed. It's time to start over.
And rebuilding means they would have to get rid of DeMar, but I don't really know where DeMar would go because he's not necessarily a fit on any team.
DeMar is. Do we want to get into DeMar? I don't know if
He's not
that's
really a
the
fit on
right
any
thing.
team. Like I
You
don't really
remember when
know
he
how to.
stopped playing? Do you remember when he just like got injured for the Raptors and they ended up playing better for a while? It's like this. It's the whole DeMar discussion is not. It's a long one if we want to really talk about it. It's like
It's just his style of play is not fit for this era.
yeah, but neither is Westbrook's. But Westbrook has still been more successful than
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'd also say that Westbrook, uh, he kind of forced his way into being.
yeah.
I
But there's
won't
no
say-
way DeMar is leading that. Okay,
yeah,
we should stop.
I just want to say like Westbrook's more talented, is what I'll go with. Like,
Yeah.
and they also built an entire team around Westbrook. Not that the Raptors weren't necessarily built around
Why?
DeMar,
You
but
think that they should try to build a team around DeRozan?
yeah, but I also feel like they were kind of like, we can get rid of DeMar if we need. So that's why
Like,
they did.
I think you should go to the Nets and become their third scorer off the bench, or if you want to start
Off the
him,
bench,
huh?
off the
Yeah,
bench
off the bench.
DeMar.
That's what I'm saying. He can be like a, as long as he doesn't like cry about coming off the bench like so many players have,
I think for now he's probably just going to stay in San Antonio.
which isn't a good idea at all. But
It's like if we're being real, it's probably going to be what happens.
what what air quotes good player, because I think DeMar thinks he's a great player. He's okay, but I think he thinks he's at the same level as some great stars, which sometimes can be good. Confidence is good, but at this time, it's like no okay player that is still good wants to be part of a rebuilding. Like it's just a fact. You don't want to be part of that. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. we'll quickly go through some other teams. Nuggets, develop your core. Not really. You
Yeah.
shouldn't really make any trades. Rockets. This one's a bit harder. Rockets are they're like a sinking ship right now because Daryl Morey has resigned. D'Antoni has left.
Oh, resign?
Yeah, Daryl Morey resigned.
Yeah, no, I know that, but I thought he got okay. We'll say resigned.
No, he resigned. He didn't get fired.
Okay.
No, I mean look it up. He resigned. Yeah.
Yeah, but that they can say that out loud, but
Well, it's the same way Doc Rivers like decided to part ways.
yeah, exactly.
Like if he asked to come back, he would have been denied.
I think that the Rockets should try to get Miles Turner. It's not much. I
Yeah,
get
well,
it.
I think that's a
His
good point, but I
his
feel like they need
core,
to get.
his core is staying together for one more year. For this year, they're staying. Okay, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna stay for one more year. I don't think it's gonna work out. I think it has a chance of going even worse than it did last year. But
I,
especially with them talking about trying to get Jeff Van Gundy. That's like, man, Jeff, I love you. You're such a great commentator with Mike Green and Mark Jackson. I loved when you coached the Knicks, but right now, I love when you coached that '08 Houston team with T-Mac and Yao. But right now, Houston especially, Jeff Van Gundy ball is not what they want to be doing right now. So,
I just don't think that Westbrook should be on this team. I feel like
what team do you think Westbrook should be on? That's the question. Like, what team do you actually
that's
think?
the issue. No contending team is going to be like, yeah, let me take Westbrook because
Here's the funny thing. He had probably the best situation. A player that cap like a player just like him. His situation in um, OKC from 2010 to 10 to 16 was probably the best situation you could give Westbrook ever. Like he was on that where he's playing with a top three player in the game, but a player that still trusts him to pass and a player that didn't realize that he was not going to get anything done with him, and it took him 8 years. Like it took Durant a while to realize that it wasn't happening with Westbrook, and it almost did. So that was the best situation that Westbrook could have gotten, and it happened. It didn't end in a shit. Like tell me a better situation that you just hypothetically just place him on a team. That OKC situation was so great for him. Like it worked.
I think theoretically this Houston situation was good for him in the regular season, but not the playoffs. Because in the regular season, Westbrook can't shoot, so he can just constantly kick it out to another player who can shoot.
And in the regular season, you can dominate in the paint. You remember how those 2 months where he averaged like 38
Yeah,
this year?
and I don't think him playing with another ball dominant guard like Harden. So when Harden's isoing and he kicks it out to Westbrook, what is Westbrook gonna do?
Like
Because
how far defenders even realize you can play so far off him because what like Harden's gonna kick it out to him. They expect the drive. So
yeah, so I just feel like if Westbrook can't go to a contending team because no contending teams can be like, we need Westbrook to win. He can't go to a rebuilding team because no rebuilding teams can be like, I'm gonna give up a ton of picks to get Westbrook. I'm looking at you, Knicks. Uh, he should go to like a mediocre team, something like the Detroit Pistons. If you want to be mediocre, you can be mediocre there, but that's like the only option for him.
you're so right, and it's so hard to think of a good situation for Westbrook right now. Like I was just thinking of the Grizzlies, but that would completely screw up John Morant.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that would completely screw up John Morant having to share the floor with Westbrook. I was thinking about the Suns, but I don't think Devin Booker passes enough, and I don't know. So
I mean, the
I was
Suns
thinking
isn't
about
a bad shout. That's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, it's just like they need to find a team where there isn't a ball dominant guard already, but Westbrook also needs to he needs to slowly develop a jump shot.
no, but
But
see,
he's
that's
like
the issue.
starting
You know who would be perfect for Westbrook? Klay Thompson.
exactly.
It's it's almost
Good luck
It's
getting
the
Clay
best.
Thompson though.
Yeah, he's not going to, but I'm saying just hypothetically, that's the best situation that he could have as a player around him. someone who doesn't need to have the ball, and Westbrook can kick it to him, and he's gonna make the three so many times.
Well, so like if he could get like a Buddy Hield, that'd be helpful. But he's not
That
gonna
could
go.
be good. If
He's
he's
not gonna
gonna
go
try
to
to
the
get
Kings because the Kings have Fox.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's just
also, he's not gonna go to the Kings to play with someone who's coming off the bench.
well, I'm saying like in a hypothetical world, him and Buddy would
That
be
he
on the court
started.
at the same
Yeah.
time. It's just it's very difficult to find a good situation for him. Yeah. Okay. Thunder. Trade Chris Paul, and then if you can get some good stuff for him, you might as well like trade Steven Adams, Dennis Schroeder. That's not necessary, but you can. You could be sitting on like 12
Ooh.
picks, 10 picks from the PG Westbrook and this. That's a lot of picks.
Bradley Beal could go to Memphis.
For what?
That could be a shout. If Memphis give up like a few of the bad players, their 2020 first round pick and their 2022 first round pick, but Bradley Beal is just not going to be. He's just going to be a complete fuck up and not think straight, and he's going to stay with the Wizards, which is the most autistic idea I can think of for him.
Okay.
I'm not fucking trying to be rude, but come on.
Okay. We've got a few more teams.
Who do we have left that people care about?
We'll just go through Jazz. Don't do anything stupid. Pelicans, develop your team. Don't trade anyone unless if it's Drew Holiday. Timberwolves, you're gonna make the playoffs most likely. Maybe not. I don't know. You could be just short of it.
Wow. You're really saying the Timberwolves are going to make the playoffs most likely?
They could be like an 8th seed.
So an eighth seed is most likely.
D'Lo, I mean Jarrett Culver hasn't been great, but and whatever they go with this first pick can make playoffs. That's 3 first overall picks.
All right, okay. But Andrew Wiggins was also a first overall pick.
Shut up. Suns, yeah, don't do anything. I mean, a lot of these teams are like, you don't need to make trades. Just keep the players you have, let them develop.
Yeah, I know. The Suns should just sit under 30 wins for a few more seasons.
I mean, based on what we saw in the bubble, they could definitely jump up more, but I don't think they're going to be.
That's the thing, though. I don't know. Like, people, I don't know if you agree with me, but people are going like, this 8-0 thing that the Suns had in the bubble, this is exactly what they needed for next season to have a turnaround. No, it's
I
not
wouldn't say
this
it's a turnaround. I just say they're slowly piecing things together. Because a turnaround would mean like, the turnaround would be what the Warriors are doing.
Yeah.
So I think the Suns just keep what you got. You'll be fine. Mavs, you guys are gonna be fine. Like really, you'll have cap space going into that. Not this off season, but next. Keep everything you got. Luka's going to develop. Kristaps is still going to be very good. I can guarantee he's going to come back before the season starts.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Eastern Conference, the Heat. You guys should get Danilo Gallinari. Sign him. Trying to think what else. Pacers.
The Heat could try to get Aaron Gordon.
For the Heat or for the Pacers?
No, for the Heat. Like, they could just go for Aaron Gordon. They probably wouldn't have to give up that much considering how fucking shit he's been.
Damn. Okay. All right. Pacers. There's not really much to say. We've already talked about Pacers trades. Nets. You guys don't need a third option, but
if they want to get DeMar, they could get him.
Yeah. What else? Wizards. Dear Lord John Wall, I don't know what you're gonna look like. Bradley Beal very well be leaving.
I kind of just want. I think they've played themselves. Like, I just want to see what this Wizards team does with a Bradley Beal that's still for some reason happy to stay in Washington, and a John Wall who thinks he's going to come back better than ever. Like, how well can this season really go?
I mean, you're asking for a lot from a team that pretty much has, like, John Wall before injured was a very good point guard. But now you're pretty much asking a guy who relied on athleticism and speed to be good again. Like that's difficult, especially for someone coming off of an ACL tear while walking down the stairs.
Yeah, that's not.
It's not even like he did it like playing basketball or anything. He did it while coming down the stairs. That's just
I. It's. Yeah, wait. Yeah, I have just a quick question because I've been thinking about it. First, just give me a yes or no or a short answer. Like, what's your opinion on advanced stats? Just like,
it depends. Some advanced stats are pretty pointless.
I'm guessing for Philly, a lot of Philly fans won't like it because advanced stats were never going to be friendly to Iverson. So, because it was just never.
Well,
But
the thing is like I like advanced stats to an extent, but like I think they're useful. Like
here's a better way to phrase this. If you're arguing basketball with someone, okay, about players, and the person you're arguing with goes like, but my player had a better VORP or a better defensive blocks plus minus. Like, are you just gonna throw hands or just stop talking or
just stop talking because then you're just nitpicking. You're like picking like, yeah, he had a better VORP. It's like no one uses VORP as a measurement in determining a player's greatness over another player. Like I'm not gonna look at LeBron and Jordan and be like, yeah, this player had a better VORP. Like no one's.
I think the two that are okay are PER and just normal box plus minus.
Yeah,
The two that are okay.
yeah, I think PER is probably the most useful. But I'm not like a Max Kellerman where that's just my go-to stat.
The
Just like,
box plus minus is a good
the
one.
greatest PER of all time. No, like I'm not that kind of guy.
Box plus minus is a better one though, because it's like not a better one, but it's still an okay one that you can use where it's like trying to defend a player at least if it's like okay, like I think it's still okay.
All
Do we
right.
have any teams left?
No, we
Like,
went through all of them. All right.
we haven't
So
gone over
let's
the
move on
Cavs.
to.
We haven't gone over the Cavs, Peter.
I thought we said we're gonna skip the Cavs because the Cavs are the Cavs.
I don't know. I actually wanted to skip the Sixers even, but
All right. We'll talk about our so teams that are great all time that people don't really remember. So there's two specifically that I have.
did you take or have you stolen my Hawks team or
No. So I have the 15-16 San Antonio Spurs and the
that's a good one.
94-95
That's a really good one.
and the 94-95 Seattle Supersonics.
Wait,
So
the 94-95 or the 95-96?
94-95.
So the ones that didn't win the didn't make it to the finals?
Yeah. I mean, they're
Okay.
both good. They're both really good, but
One made it to the finals.
yeah. Okay. I'll do the San Antonio Spurs first. So this was like I'm pretty sure this is Tim Duncan's last year as a San Antonio Spur, 2016. Yeah. And this is Kawhi like emerging himself as an MVP candidate. So I think the real reason that this team is so underrated is they were a 67 win team. Like that's difficult, and I
They
think
could have they could have gone very close to chasing the Warriors, except Pop for the last like 10 games was like, okay, I'm gonna rest all of my stars and play my G League players.
yeah,
So
and I think the reason that they're so overshadowed was one they lost to in the playoffs, and
in the second round, that was the issue that they lost the second round to a team that most people they thought should have beaten.
and two, they were behind the Warriors, and the Warriors the greatest record of all time. So people were like, "Oh my God, look at the Warriors!" And then they didn't really pay attention to the Spurs as much in like retrospect. So I feel like it's kind of it's unfortunate, and it's just sad. Like they obviously they they should have beat OKC, but they didn't. But it's the way it is. OKC was like I don't want to say OKC was a more talented team, but they definitely had a lot of raw talent. Like that was raw talent.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're just an underrated team. It's just a lot of these teams that no one knows about are teams that they were successful in the regular season, but they just failed in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's what all of these are going to be about. Like, it's unless we're finding like yours might even be, yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. So mine,
I just don't.
obviously, huh?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so obviously I have a few. The first one I'll bring up is my personal favorite, the um the 2015 Hawks, and I hope that all Hawks fans out there continue and will continue to flaunt the fact that they have a 60-win season in the 2010s. Like, that is really something to
It's a
say.
4 all-star team.
A 4 All-Star team. You can compare that Hawks team to those Pistons teams. Okay, that had 4 All-Star. Like, that's if you're a Hawks fan, do as
Well,
much as you can.
not merely as successful.
No shit. But if you're a Hawks fan, do as much as you can with that 60 win and never stop using it, okay? That team. So what were the 4 All-Stars? So you had Al Horford when he was still okay, not giving a max. You had
Corver,
Korver, who was just, yeah, I think he had like 50% 3-point, and he was basically there as like a backup.
Teague.
You remember when Jeff T was good?
Uh,
Oh, that was mean. That was mean. That was really mean. I'm sorry.
wow.
Yeah. And who was the other person? Paul
Uh,
Millsap?
yeah, Paul Millsap.
Yeah. Um, and so they had a perfect January, 17-0, but they were one of the teams that really, I mean, so many teams do, and I shouldn't say one of them, but they were one of the teams where bad. I feel like you can compare them to this Rockets team where if the 3-pointer isn't falling, it goes awful. Like, you can look at a few teams where it's like, okay, the 3-point shot isn't falling, doesn't matter. That team, if their 3-point shot wasn't falling, it was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. Like, Jeff Teague would just continue to hoist them up. Korver would be shooting them between two people. Like, they're like 0 for 20, and you got Korver shooting a 40-footer just because they need to get a few more up until they make one. It was, it
Yeah,
was
and then they fell. They fell to the LeBron James team, but
that was pretty funny how they got swept. They made it to the East Conference Finals. Good. This is one
how
of the
many?
few teams that
How many?
made it pretty far in the playoffs.
Like, there's only so many 60-win teams that get swept. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
unfortunate.
but to be fair, I feel like you never. I don't know if you would compare this to any of the other teams where, like, when you bring up great teams that underperformed, I don't know if you're really ever gonna bring up like, oh, you remember that 60-win Hawks team that got swept? I feel
Well,
like you're
yeah, you'd
just gonna,
probably be like, remember that 67-15 Dallas team? That's what you'd be like.
yeah, you would talk about that. You could probably even talk about the fucking whatever team you just brought up, the Spurs losing in the second round.
Yeah. All right. My other team was the 94-95 Seattle Supersonics, 57-25, and then proceed to lose in the first round.
Yeah, that's
That's it was back when they was first to 3.
I just looked it up. They lost to that like fucking
The Lakers team.
that Lakers team was not good. Who did they have? Did they have like I no disrespect to anybody on that Lakers team because I actually love Nick Van Exel. I think he was on that team. I think Van Exel. I think Eddie Jones was on that team. Team had some ballers, but
You got
57.
Vlade Divac,
Okay.
Nick Van Exel,
Yeah.
Eddie Jones, Sam Bowie. It's
This was
there's
not.
not a lot of like
It's
notable.
not. yeah, it's more those, those mid-column names
Yeah,
where people who know basketball will be like, okay, yeah, I know a few of those guys. People who don't know basketball will be like, okay, I've heard their names once or twice, but I don't. It's
hmm
still a lot of those. All right, so first we'll go with there are two teams from the same season actually that I think. So first, everyone loves Iverson, and I say a lot of negative things about Iverson, but I still love him. That 01 Bucks team, and I'm gonna forever bring this up. Okay, that 01 Bucks team with Ray Allen was such a good team, and the wrong team made the finals. I'll say this over and over again: the wrong
they
team made
would
the.
have lost anyways.
Yeah, they would have. I just think that the wrong team. The officiating in that series was comparable to the 2002 Western Conference Finals, which everyone should know about when they basically rigged it for the Lakers. And who was the referee? That I think the referee admitted it. He admitted it like a few years ago.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wrote a letter saying like, okay, yeah, we favor the Lakers. We gave every call to the Lakers. But that 01 Bucks team was fucking awesome. And they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They probably should have gone to the finals. And yeah, they were. And also, you could also throw another team, but I feel like people who know basketball will remember the '04 Timberwolves with KG. Like, I feel like that's people, even though a lot of people won't, people will remember the one time KG was successful with the Timberwolves. Like the
hmm
one time they made it past the first round is what people could remember that as. So, you know, I think
yeah.
it's
Uh,
yeah.
teams like there's just a lot of teams that like they'll be successful in the regular season, and players who are successful in the regular season but never postseason. Like David Robinson pre Tim Duncan, like I think he had in like 1995, he had a 62 win season, and
There,
then
there was a reason they lost. You know why? It was because he got the MVP over Hakeem, and Hakeem was like, "Fuck this! I'm going to fuck this guy up in the playoffs." Like I don't like, and he
yeah,
just got.
yeah, and then what else? This one isn't necessarily like an underrated team. It's the 2009 Celtics and that
Oh,
Orlando
it
team.
is. It's a very forgotten team because the 2009, not as much Orlando, the 2009 Celtics probably, I think they were the best team in the league during the regular season.
They were like
66,
60 something wins.
66 and 16. Okay, they were the best team. KG gets injured, and that's the only reason they go out. Like that team, I guarantee you, it would have been 2 years of Lakers and Celtics. It would have been 2009. It would have been three. It could have been 3 years in a row of Lakers Celtics
hmm
because I'm pretty sure that Celtics team would have made the finals.
The only reason I say like that Orlando team is also kind of forgotten is no one's like, hey yo, you remember that time that Dwight Howard went to the finals? People just kind of know him for being just Superman, not really
But that's also
finals.
fucking. A lot of people know him for being like the journeyman that he has been. If you just start watching basketball and don't know much about the history, people know him as like, oh,
Yeah,
the guy that once put up 30 and 30 for the Hornets and just has been traveling around trying to make post bank shots for 5 years.
yeah. Well, he's been on the Wizards. He's been on the Hawks. He's been on
The
the
Hornets.
Hornets. He's been on. Wasn't he on the Grizzlies for a bit? Or am I
Let's see.
tripping?
Let me look it up.
Lakers, uh,
It's just been a
Magic.
lot.
This is a lot of teams,
Houston.
man.
Remember Houston? He was actually okay for Houston, but nobody remembers that.
Houston, yeah. Man, how many teams is this? Damn, that's a
Clippers. Wait, no, not Clippers. It's Orlando, Lakers, Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, Lakers.
no, I don't know why I thought he was on. I guess I was thinking Joakim Noah. My bad.
Yeah, but he was. You know what? A Magic team I think is even more forgettable. Who remembers the time that Shaq made the finals before he got to LA?
With that, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I just think that team is. It's because it was in the 2 years, 1 year that Jordan didn't play a full season. No, it was in actually it was in the 2 years that Jordan didn't play, one he was not 100% as we know, and I just feel
mhm.
like people remember Hakeem for his greatness, but I mean, they should because he completely fucked Shaq in that series. Like, there's no other way to put it. But yeah, I just don't think people are gonna. However, one team I'm now gonna bring up, which a lot of people will now remember. It was a great one. I think they won less than 30 games. However, this was a okay. They finished with no
They won less than 30 games
33
but they're notable.
wins. Thir- 33 wins. 33 wins. The '05 Knicks. Okay, '05 Knicks.
Oh, the 8th seed?
No,
Oh no, that's
33
99. That's
wins.
99.
Okay. Yeah, no. 99 is also one that I'm going to bring up after this because they were fucking awesome. The 2005 Knicks, you got Jamal Crawford putting up 20 points a game. A really quick thing about Jamal Crawford, if you got him putting up more than if you're playing him more than 20 minutes, your team is not going anywhere far. Okay? And like you cannot Jamal Crawford, you can play him. You could probably play him for a good amount. But by the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter, he's going out and not coming back in. That's what you have to do if you have Jamal Crawford on your team. If you have like a good Jamal Crawford on your team, he's going out in the fourth quarter early and staying out. Okay, but that Knicks team in Allen Houston, the old Allen Houston, he was given the awful contract by Dolan, but I don't want to start screaming about it. You've got Jamal Crawford, you have Nate Robinson, you have Stephon Marbury, Tim Thomas was on that team. This is like it's just Penny was on that team. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Your 99 Knicks. Go ahead.
my 99 Knicks. When we lose Ewing and Marcus Camby steps up, okay? Marcus Camby steps up and we make it to that it was yeah, that was the lockout year, right? When that
Mm-hmm.
was
That
the
was
awful
99 Spurs Knicks lockout year.
yeah, when I think they were having like triple, like 3 in a row games, players getting injured. That was probably I think I wasn't alive for that. But that was worse than the 2012 lockout. 2012 lockout is still in the All-Star game and stuff like that, but this was I don't know why they did it. Like what was the I never actually found out
The reasons
the
for the lockouts?
for the 99 one especially. Like 50 games is a very small amount.
How many? They played like 60 something this year, right?
This year they played I don't know. Look it up. How many did they
I'm pretty sure they played somewhere around 60 games this year. How many games did the NBA play this season? No, I don't want to know. It's not going to tell me. I'm pretty sure it's going to be somewhere around like 60, a little more than 60 games per team.
just really quickly while Peter looks that up, I just want to, before we end, I just want to talk about just some prime Taj Gibson numbers for all of you to think we're just trolling when we say prime Taj Gibson on my on actually no on those Chicago teams with Rose could put up 13 points and 7 rebounds on some pretty good 48% from the field. And, he's getting to the line 4 times a game.
Oh, potential.
He blocks a shot and a half. He blocks 3 shots every 2 games. He can dish out 1 assist every game. Those are not, and he was a great defender. People, I don't think people should disrespect just because now you just throw him into a bunch of shit, especially the Knicks do. Just to do that now, it was great for a time. People don't remember how great it was with Taj Gibson at a time. And on that note, we'll probably finish it there, just on a high note.
Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Taj Gibson, a tribute. We'll see you guys next time.